All right, you got two coordinates now, temperament plus orientation. That's a decent map of your operating system. But here's the thing. I didn't just teach you that for self-knowledge. There's a strategic reason. Coercive control. It's a system of tactics designated to dominate and control people. Not brute force, systematic manipulation that escalates over time. The core mechanisms: isolation, cut the target off from support networks; monitoring and surveillance, track all movement and communication; gaslighting, destabilize the target's grip on reality; intimidation, create ambient fear without direct threats; economic control, create dependency and remove exit options. Now, what's interesting is these mechanisms were first identified in domestic abuse research, Evan Stark. But they're not limited to that context. They scale. Same architecture, different implementations. In a relationship, one person controlling another. In a workplace, institutional control of its employees, the employer class. In a government, state-level control of populations. The tactics are isomorphic. Isolation at scale looks like controlling information flow, restricting travel, breaking up communities. Gaslighting at scale looks like, that's not happening, that's misinformation, you're misremembering. Economic control at scale looks like dependency on systems, restricted alternatives. You have no choice. Sound familiar to anyone? Just me? Cool. Let me give you a concrete example. Workplace scenario. New employee joins the company. Enthusiastic, capable, sees some problems. Mentions them. Slowly, they notice. They're not invited to meetings anymore. That project's being handled elsewhere, says the management. Their concerns get reframed by management. That's not really a problem. You're not seeing the full picture. Trust the process. Their performance reviews start mentioning attitude. Not specific, just attitude. They start doubting themselves. Maybe I am being difficult. Maybe I'm not seeing it right. Same pattern. Isolation, gaslighting, ambient intimidation. Just wearing a suit instead of whatever abusers wear. So why does knowing this about your type matter? Because the targeting is type specific. Rationals get targeted through our need for logical consistency. Here's why this makes sense. You're being irrational. Think it through, you'll see. Mind and body oriented people get targeted through structure. This is the system, they say. This is how it works, they say. You can't fight the infrastructure, they say. Heart and soul people get targeted through meaning. This matters, they say. Think of the greater good, they say. You're being selfish, they say. The better the system knows your type, the more precisely it can manipulate you, and they see. The better you know your type, the more you can recognize the manipulation. It's an arms race, basically. Self-knowledge is ammunition. Here's something worth noting. If you've been feeling like something is off and people keep telling you that you're overthinking it, you might just have a better pattern recognition. People who survive controlling situations before, they develop like early warning systems. It's not paranoia, it's calibrated threat detection. The people who sense it at first are not crazy, they're experienced. So here's the value proposition. Fear without framework leads to paralysis or panic. Neither of those are useful. But awareness with framework, That strategic advantage. You know your own vulnerabilities. You know the tactics being deployed, and you can see the pattern before it completes. It's not a guarantee of safety, but it's a lot better than walking around blind. So that's why this matters. Temperament and orientation aren't just personality trivia. They're tactical intelligence for navigating systems of control. Next episode, finding your people. Because here's the fun part. You can't actually do this alone. Nobody can. See you next time.